What if healing could be as simple as following a map? In today's video, we're diving into the mind-blowing world of a seasoned energy healer who revolutionized her work, making it effortless to transform lives one client at a time. So stick around. You won't believe how easy this gets. Hello, everyone. I'm Sally Knopp, and with me today is Jessica. And she is already a seasoned healer, and I'm going to let her tell you her story and what her experience is with the MDH map. So, thank you for joining me, Jessie.
Thank you, Sally. All right, so I actually reached out to Sally about doing a past life regression, a QHHT session. How long ago was it? Was it 3 years
Oh,
ago? 4 years ago?
yeah, easily, probably 4. Yeah, long time ago.
And I remember she said, "Well, I don't do that anymore. I do emotion code." And I said, "I don't know what that is." She's like, "Hold on, give me a minute. Let me tune into your prosperity." And she cleared me and she said, "Do you want to do a full session?" And I said, "Absolutely." Actually, at that time, you were selling 4 packs. So I did them all. And she cleared me out. And the next day, I texted her and I said, "Why do I feel like I've been hit by a truck?" Because I had released so much, my whole body ached. And I have a lot of complex trauma from my childhood and having undiagnosed ADHD my whole life. I don't think that helped at all. But as we progressed, more and more stuff released, and it was not as bad after the first one. I had more mental chatter that was released, like negative mental chatter, negative programming, and negative emotions that were lodged in my body that were released. And she guided me for years. It was incredible. But every time that I talked to her, she's like, "I learned this." And I'd scribble it down on these notes. And I had little pieces of notes all over. And I'd try to put them all in this fancy healing book that I had, but it was just so much that I felt like there were always pieces that I was missing and I wasn't quite doing it right. And then she let me know that she was going to be starting a website to use. And I was really, really excited because I just want to help the whole world. And it is so easy to navigate. It explains everything that you need in videos, and even outside of the videos, it lays it out in a step-by-step process and tells you exactly the words that you need to say. And I love the way that it explains things. For instance, if you go to the blueprint energetic field, it tells you exactly what a blueprint energetic field is, where it comes from, what it means. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say no. Yeah, it gives it all because so many people don't understand that there's a difference between a blueprint energetic field and an imprint. And things can be stored in different places, and you've got to be careful where you go to pull out the negative energies. So that's what this map is about, is being able to tune into somebody and use the map to sort of say, okay, do you have an imbalance someplace and where do I go from there? So anyway, that's the only thing I was going to add to that. So go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, it's fine. I have found a lot of value in the systems page because when you go to the systems, I would clear out the system and ask if it was happy, and I would get a yes. And then you have more information that even if it says it's happy, check individual things and you have to drill down. And then once you go to the drill down part, it gives you all of the different pieces in the system. And the thing that I love the most, because I'm so spiritually oriented, are the past life issues that you're dealing with, or even the issues in your life. Because I started off learning from Louise Hay. That was one of my foundational people. And she talks about how your body's always trying to talk to you and it tries to be very literal. It's just that we are not taught how to listen to our bodies. So if you're having trouble with your feet, you're not moving forward in your life. If you're having trouble with your stomach, you're not digesting your life very well. And so many people don't know this.
Yeah, and with this, you can tune in pretty quick because there can be a million things that goes wrong with the body, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then of course, then it affects all these other areas. And when we're doing energy healing, we start from the outside and we work down to the lower. So when I tell people when you're using the map and you're getting started working with somebody, you usually start with a blueprint energetic field. But then you end up at the DNA and the genes and then the nutrition and outside needs. And the genes were interesting because there's like 20,000 genes. And how do you find out what's going on? And I basically, without getting into the weeds too much, I walk you through how to do that on this particular page. Anyway, just wanted to bring
And
that
that
up.
was so helpful because I remember the first time that I saw that page and I read there's 20,000 genes. I was like, I'm out. I'm done for today. And I disconnected from my client. And then I went back when I wasn't feeling so overwhelmed. And I'm like, oh, ChatGTP. So I go to ChatGTP and, I let their energy, their higher self tell me exactly where to go. I go in without any kind of assumptions. And if I do have assumptions, I'm like, oh, well, that was wrong a lot of the time, sometimes not, but then I'll say, let's say that they're having trouble with their adrenal glands. I just go to ChatGTP and I say, what are the genes associated with the adrenal glands? And it
Yeah,
will
it's
list them
pretty
off.
easy. Right. And I
It
knew that when I said
is.
the 20,000 genes, oh my goodness, it's going to overwhelm anybody. It did me. I'm like, holy cow, what do I do? And so it's just, okay, so they're coming to you and they may have a diagnosis. And you're absolutely right. We don't want to marry into an idea where they are because these diseases can come from anywhere in any realm. And so, but what it can help us with is somebody has like multiple sclerosis, for example, or any other autoimmune disease. We can say what genes are most associated with causing this particular issue. And then when those genes come up, we can ask, are those genes, do they have negative coding? And if they have negative coding, can we delete the negative coding and encode it with positive God's healing? And, usually, obviously, we get yes. And that has been quite interesting. I've had some major success with that. How's it been going with you?
It's going really well. I've been really surprised and delighted at the progress that I've made. And I went and did some watercolor painting with one of my friends, and she happens to be a Reiki practitioner. And I was like, hey, let me clear your energy real quick. But real quick has turned into like half an hour, 45 minutes now because it's so very in depth. And
Mm-hmm.
I hit all the things that she had been struggling with. And I'm, as my one friend says, blessed with a bad memory. So even if somebody tells me their problems, I'm like, oh, okay, great. And then I forget it the next day. So I couldn't remember exactly what she had struggled with, but
But
um,
that's important right there because you don't want to marry into the idea and marry into an outcome because it throws you off. So for
it
this to
does.
work,
Yeah,
as a seasoned practitioner, you've got to go in neutral.
you
So
do.
yeah.
Because you'll influence your outcomes if you have some sort of pre-existing idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that I struggled with quite a bit when I first started. And plus the confidence of the answers that I was getting. And I must say, the prayer that we say at the beginning, where you ask to have the answers immediate placed in your mind when you
Mm-hmm.
start, I love that so much because now it just comes to me before I even get to where I'm going. And I
That
never
is
thought to
so
ask
cool.
that.
That's what happens. You do this enough times. It's almost like you don't even need a pendulum or any kinesiology because as you
Yeah.
do it, you just suddenly get this information. That's actually for anybody who's interested is on the first steps and best practices page. And on these tutorial videos, I give a lot of information that's in form here that you can read, or you can watch a video and kind of go through it that way.
Good thinking. Yeah, I've been surprised at the directions that it takes me. I like the way that it, for instance, when you go to DNA, it tells you to make sure that you've cleared out this, and this before you even attempt to clear out the DNA because you have to clear out the blueprint energetic field. And as you go into, oh, and I love the DNA activation too. That's really cool. But it's neat the way that you have to ask if it's for the best and highest good of the client in order to activate it. Because I feel like I've been so drawn to this crazy metaphysical world for so long. It's kind of my hyper focus. So I try to become an expert in it. I forget that not everybody is as far along the path as I am. So maybe it's not in their best and highest good to activate, DNA strand number 4, 5, 6, whatever, and just to clear
Yeah.
out any kind of stuff that they have in there.
Yeah, and the good news is, just like Dolores Cannon told us when we were doing QHHT, you're not going to be able to affect healing if the higher self is not going to allow it. So basically, what's happening is that we're clearing out all the junk so the soul can come at whatever it is they're trying to learn from a fresh perspective. And sometimes they're ready for the DNA activation, and sometimes they're not. But, meeting the people where they are is where the success will actually be, and not being married to the outcome. I had somebody who would only allow so much healing, and there was a little bit of a disappointment because they didn't, quote, get cured. But they still had a soul lesson to get through. And once they understood what
Oh,
it is that their soul needed to learn, it just went pop, snapped, everything just kind of fell back into place. So it will hold on to the lessons it needs to, and we can't clear that out. But it will allow the old stuff to go, which is cool. So for those energy healers out there that are questioning, did I overdo it? You can't really overdo it because people's oversouls will always protect them. Does that make sense?
it does make sense.
So, yeah. So, overall, what do you think about this map? Is it worth it, do you think? Has it
It's worth every
helped?
penny. It is worth every penny.
Well,
I
thank
think it has
you.
helped immensely and it makes it so easy to use. I feel really confident in my abilities to do the energy clearings now, where before I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing this right. I think the wording's really well put, and I think that the videos are incredibly informative too.
Great, great, great. I love that. I love it because I want
And
everybody to have access to this.
I'm trying to get a lot more people on board too, just because I know so many other Reiki practitioners, and I'm like, this is so much better, and it's only $12 a month. So,
Right, it's a great companion. You don't have to be new, although it is good for people who are new because, like I said, for those who are new, it's always good to start at the best practices. And it can take you from being completely green at this and being able to do it. The thing that, and I think I told you this before, I have spent like God knows how much money in doing different modalities and learning different things
yeah,
and thousands of dollars. And
same.
I have worked with people who would be amazing healers, but they don't have the outlay of money to go toward this. And then as I was going through the different modalities, because you've been with me long enough, first of all, I was QHHT certified, which taught me how to speak to the higher self, or I guess if we live in a simulation, I don't know. But there is a language that makes a difference. Would you agree with that? It's the language that you need.
Oh, absolutely. And I had my own lesson where you informed me that the words that I used were very important. And that was a hard lesson to learn because I thought that I was pretty, positive and spiritual, but you informed me that I was focusing on the negative and I needed to focus on the positive. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, I know. It is so hard to
Or
get
what was
stuff
going
about
wrong?
ourselves. Yeah, it's so hard to get stuff about ourselves right. But what I noticed in all the different modalities that I was doing is that everybody was sort of saying the same thing. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. It Because I was a broker for so many years, I boil everything down to its basic and I begin to see there's a lot of fluff and packaging, but then it really just all comes down to the same exact thing. And that's what I try to put into this website. Make it easy and basic, and it sort of walks you through and allow the soul, the person that you're working with, to guide you on what needs to go next because no two people are the same. I
Oh,
think
no
that's the thing
kidding.
that really surprised me. What did you think?
Oh, yeah. It's very different for everybody. But it makes sense because we're all very unique in our own way.
Yeah,
So we all have our
yeah,
own history of emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual trauma. So,
yeah. And I just using this usually breaks it through pretty quickly. sometimes people come through with they think, well, I've got ancestral trauma. And so, they're just convinced because they heard this, it's the latest buzz thing. I have ancestral trauma.
Oh,
And there
yeah.
is something to the ancestral trauma. I just want to touch on this a little bit for those watching who may not know. But if your ancestor had gone through an event such as disease or war or sudden death or trauma, they can actually imprint their energies on their DNA. Then when they have offspring, that energy, that information is actually passed down. Now, the beautiful thing about this, when we clear the ancestral energy, not only will it clear out of the person we're working with, but everyone that it actually touched. So there is something to it, but sometimes it's not all ancestral energy. It could be in one of the other dimensions, like we just talked
So
about
doesn't it
before
just
we get
go
started.
forward or back if you clear
Uh,
out the...
yeah, it will go
What
to
about
whoever has
sideways?
it.
Like, would it clear out from my sister, or would it just be
Everybody,
my parent?
everybody
Really?
that it genetically connected to, it will clear, and
Wow, that's powerful.
including the soul that it came from. So if the soul is, happened 200 years ago and they're still in the other realm, it will clear from them too.
Oh,
That's
wow.
how powerful it is. Yeah,
That
yeah,
was the first time
and
that I learned what miasm meant. I'd never even heard that terminology before.
that's an old term that comes from, I think, the 1850s, but they knew something
Really?
was happening. Yeah. And they knew something was taking place, but they couldn't identify it. But now, with science and the understanding of how DNA is and how it can express itself, we now know, we now have the scientists telling us this, which is really cool. And that we know that we can reverse it. And I've learned so much from so many people, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, just all kinds of scientists, Dr. Teresa Bullard. They have everybody's got their piece to this puzzle that's all right
Yeah.
here in this map. But one of the things I wanted to make sure everybody know is that we also, why we call it multiple dimensional healing, is because we do truly get into the different dimensions. Because we can have energy stuck beyond the physical dimension, say in the mental dimension, that can stream down and cause physical issues. So, and I try to touch on that in the videos too. So,
Nice.
yeah.
I love
So,
that.
any last words? Because I know that, we wanted to make this just kind of a quick thing. And I really appreciate you coming on because you are a seasoned healer. And having your perspective of the map is important. And I appreciate it.
Last words. I have appreciated working with you. I appreciate all of the hours and hours of time that you have spent on this map, and it's incredible. I can't speak highly enough of it. I love it so much.
Oh, well, thank you. So you feel it's a good companion for your energy work.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining Jesse and I. And if you have any questions, reach out to me at sallyknopf@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.